Good morning. Welcome to Open Tunings. I'm Scott Regan. I'll be your host here till noon. We are 88.5 WRUR FM and HD Rochester, 90.1 WITH FM and HD1 Ithaca. A visit today with Brian Tomaszewski. He will be playing tomorrow at the Little Theater Cafe, among other shows which he has coming up throughout the rest of the week and into the future. He's got a bunch of shows lined up, so we'll hear about that later. Speaking of guests, Brian Tomaszewski here. Yeah, we've been going over how to pronounce Polish names, and I'm trying to get it right. So thanks for coming in this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're playing tomorrow night at the Little Theater in the Cafe.
Correct.
You got a bunch of shows coming up. You got something in Hamburg on the 19th, the 22nd, the Angry Goat Country Vineyards, which is a really great place to play. Have you played there before?
I have. I played there last year and already one date earlier, so I'm excited to kind of be there again in just a few weeks.
Yeah. It's really
it's gorgeous venue.
It's gorgeous there. On the 20th, you can find out more about it at your website. So welcome.
Thank you.
When did you told me that you were with the Cottage Pickers, and you've been in here before, and I looked at the Cottage Pickers CD, and that band's no longer around as the Cottage Pickers, but you're now playing with a number of those people as...
Yeah, I'm currently with a band called the North Star String Band, which are with a group of friends I've known for a lot of them for over 20 years, and that's when we changed names from the Cottage Pickers, we named the band the North Star String Band after the North Star. I think it was an abolitionist newspaper from Frederick Douglass, so we kind of gave it an homage to Rochester and, making a local thing. So, but I've also been, as you've read, I'm pretty active with my solo act. That was really an outcome of the pandemic. I've always had a solo act, but I spent a lot of time by myself during the pandemic and couldn't really play with other people. So I really turned inward to my own, solo music, and have developed a whole new kind of show and act and perspective on what else I can do with music that's really rooted in bluegrass. You'll hear some of my banjo playing in a little bit, but I've really gone in a lot of different directions to explore a lot of different ideas and interests I have.
Yeah, so why don't you talk a little bit about the different directions and the interests? I noticed you have on your website people who influenced you, and it's you don't pick one genre. It's all over the map, from Earl Scruggs to Muddy Waters to Gordon Lightfoot, Keller Williams, who I've never seen anybody use him as an influence before, but that's pretty cool. And Billy Strings, someone who's just come on the scene recently. So That's a wide range of interests.
Yeah, and I want to thank the Little Theater for my show. I finally have a label I think that works for me. They're calling me a multicultural live looping.
Okay.
So there I finally have a term. Yeah, so I am interested in a lot of different things, and I think when you come see my show, that's what people tell me. They like the diversity. They never know what's going to be next. So I'm going to be 50 years old this year in just another month. So I grew up in the 80s listening to pop music and all that, but in high school I got really interested in the Grateful Dead. So I even got to see a couple of Grateful Dead shows with Jerry Garcia. And so jam band, electric jam music was always a big influence. But I've been really fortunate now in my life. My day job, I'm a college professor at RIT. I've literally traveled all over the world. I mean, I've got projects in Rwanda. I was there this summer. I've had projects in Germany. And so it's really given me an open-minded perspective to different people, different ideas, different cultures, different music. And I think that's what you're seeing now in my show.
When you say you have projects in those places, what type of, are there music projects?
No. So I get funding from the U.S. National Science Foundation, and one of my projects this summer was, it's called the International Research Experience for Students. So I brought a group of U.S. students to spend 10 weeks in Rwanda, and they were looking at mapping out natural disaster resilience. So kind of like the way my life is here in Rochester, during the day I was doing that, but in the evening time I had a guitar, and I would go out and record music, take pictures. Photography is actually another one of my big hobbies, and a thing I've been enjoying lately are doing Facebook Reels. They're fun, they're short, and they're a great way to capture music and culture as you travel around. So I made a little Facebook reel of me singing. It's called Kinyarwanda, is the language of Rwanda. So I went out with my phone and a guitar and I just started singing the numbers of the Kinyarwanda language. Rime, kabire, gatatu, kane. Just started playing, and a whole bunch of kids just materialized out of nowhere because, like, here's like a white guy with a guitar, and I made a little reel out of it. So it's just fun stuff like that, the way the music and travel can kind of blur together.
Did they join in singing with you too?
I don't know what they made of me. If you watch the
cool.
video, some of them sing, because I did it Kinyarwanda, then I did English. You can see some of them starting to mouth the English, but then they ran away, and it was only a 60-second video, but it was fun. It's the kind of thing to do with music and cultural outreach.
Where do you find those little reels?
Oh, yeah. So my Facebook page is Facebook Brian T Music.
Brian T Music. Okay.
Yep. So you can find that in there, and that's been a fun thing because I like technology, I like multimedia, and so using all the tool sets available to me in this day and age, why not? It's a great way to express the creativity and the art and so forth.
Yeah, the variety. You sent me a little synopsis of what you might consider playing this morning, and it was 3 completely different things. People don't usually do that.
Okay.
Usually you come in and you bring one instrument, and you say, you talk about it, but you got like 3 things you're going to do. It's really going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay.
So what do you got first? You got your guitar?
Yeah. So I'd like to do my first song. So some big news I have coming up. I was selected as a U.S. Fulbright Scholar. So the Fulbright program is through the U.S. State Department, and it's kind of prestigious to get one of these. So I'm actually going to be leaving in about a month and a half with my girlfriend, Lisa Schneider. We're going to go to Poland, and I'm going to spend 9 months in Poland, kind of my roots of where I come from. But my project is to look at Ukrainian refugees going in and out of Poland. So that's kind of the big thing in my life coming up, and the music will be there. So I dusted off this old Polish folk song, and this song has been around for a long time. And I've recently learned in the conflict with Ukraine and Russia, it's become a song that's being used for sort of solidarity between Poland and Ukraine. Because as you probably know, a lot of the aid going to Ukraine is coming through Poland. And I thought that might be apropos sort of for me, Tomaszewski, for where I'm going. And I thought your listeners might like to start their day out with a song sung in Polish.
Nice, yes.
So hopefully I'll get it right.
Brian Tomaszewski, he is at the Little Theater in the Cafe tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Dziękuję. Hej Zakowi. Hej tam jedna czarny sarna kon kozyk mone. Czule żegna się dziewczyna, jeszcze czule z Ukraina. Hej Zakowi, oni a ci gudi lassi do. Dzwon w necku, mój powie skoranecku. Hej Zakowi, oni a ci gudi lassi do. Dzwon w necku, mój powie dzwon. Ża, dziewczyna, zielona, Ukraina, ża, serce płaci, już nigdy nie zobaczy. Hej Zakowi, oni a ci gudi lassi dody, bon w necku, mój powie skoranecku. Hej Zakowi, oni a ci gudi lassi dody, bon w necku, mój powie bon. Ona jeda tam zostala, jak loa moja mała na zielonej Ukrainie, prekonicie twe dwa nicie. Hej Zakowi, oni a ci gudi lassi dody, bon w necku, mój powie skoranecku. Hej Zakowi, oni a ci gudi lassi dody, bon w necku, mój powie bon. Wina diacie, jak more poławicie, na zielonej Ukrainie prekonicia twe dwa nicie. Hej kowi ome achi guri lasido. Von Vanetsku moiste boe von. Dziękuję.
That's beautiful. Did you grow up in a household that had a lot of Polish culture in it?
Honestly, no, zero. The only thing I vaguely remember, my mother, like the Polish ancestors in my family, they came to the Buffalo, New York area in like 1883. And so by that point, the language was gone. My parents would talk about how their grandparents, you hear this often, Polish was like the secret language they would speak around the kids if they didn't want them to know what was going on. But I mean, Polish, you and I were chatting before we went on air, Polish culture has a lot of beautiful traditions, especially around Christmas time. None of that was really part of my growing up. So all this stuff has been me going after it in the last about 10 years. Through work stuff, I got to visit Poland about 10 years ago. I engaged with the Polish community here in Rochester. I actually want to give a shout out to my teacher, Sławka Wojcik, a lady who I took Polish language lessons with. And then it's just been my own study and my own curiosity about it. And it's been a wonderful journey to kind of understand who I am, because I grew up with that flavorful last name, Tomaszewski. All I ever knew was how to say it correctly. I wasn't taught Tomaszewski. It was said Tomaszewski. And that was the only thing I had, and it's all been on my own. So hopefully I did that song justice. It's I don't really speak Polish fluently or anything like that, but I'm learning it, and it's learning a language is just like learning music. It's got its own structures and syntax and joy of what you can get out of it when you learn how to think and speak in another language.
Yeah, the little inflections you throw in there with some of the words and your pronunciations it just has that studied sound to it. And
thanks.
It's really cool. I always love hearing the way it's properly pronounced.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Well, I hope I did it justice.
Brian Tomaszewski in the studio. You can see him tomorrow night at the Little Theater in the Cafe at 7 o'clock. So you got your guitar. What are the other things you're thinking of doing today here with what's the next instrument?
Do you want me to grab the banjo real quick?
Yeah,
I'll do it fast. Yep.
Yeah, so tomorrow night you can find out more about him as well at briantmusic.com. Really interesting musical background and all these various interests. It's incredible what you got going here. And here's the banjo.
Thank you. Yeah, well, the banjo was the first stringed instrument I played. So I don't know if they're even still around, but a long time ago I lived in the Albany, New York area. There was a folk music scene called the 8-Step Coffee House.
I remember that.
I don't know if they're still active or not. Kind of like in Rochester, I think we still have 12 Corners.
Well, it sort of transformed. Yeah, not really. No, 12 Corners is not around anymore.
All right, similar kind of operation though. So I was really influenced by like a real folky crowd. Always loved, and again, kind of back to Grateful Dead, the great Jerry Garcia, a lot of people know was a banjo player before he got into like electric psychedelic rock music and stuff. And then through that, and then through bluegrass, kind of went back to the roots of bluegrass to Irish music. So I've had various interests in Irish music as well over the years. And at St. Patrick's Day time, I can get some gigs. I don't do a whole entire show of Irish music, but I've always enjoyed it. So
how did you pick up the banjo first? It was your first instrument?
Yeah, it was my first stringed instrument. I just wanted to be different. I don't know. Everyone plays guitar. I actually like to play guitar more than I do banjo now. But for years, it was just the banjo. And I went deep into like traditional Scruggs style bluegrass and some Irish stuff. So that's kind of, I guess, where it kind of comes from.
And so your interest was basically the folk side of music.
Yes, absolutely.
And was that was there music in your household, or was that just?
My parents had stuff, the standard stuff that you would have listened to, like their generation, the '70s, Jim Croce. My dad liked the Doors and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a lot of this stuff, kind of like your questions about Polish heritage. It was just me, especially back then. I was in my, I was younger and open, a sponge absorbing things around me, and so I started hanging out again with a folky crowd. So saw a lot of great music back then. Tony Trischka came to Albany, and that was a huge influence. Seeing him and his more progressive stuff that led to Bela Fleck. Singer-songwriter music, Christine Lavin. I remember seeing her come to Albany. She was really great. So yeah, I would say folky music, and then I went really deep into bluegrass, like in the early 2000s. That was my thing for a long time. We talked about the Cottage Pickers and North Star, so that's kind of always been an underlying thread of my music. But I've certainly been interested in a lot of different branches from the musical tree, as it were.
So you were living outside of Albany.
Yeah. I lived in the city of Albany, and then I lived in sort of the surrounding area for a little while, yeah.
Was that like high school, or is that?
This was college.
College, okay.
Undergraduate college.
Okay.
Yep. I went to SUNY Albany and then stayed on. Really interesting career I had back then. I was an archaeologist. Legit, you can get a job doing archaeology. That was my job.
Wow.
And I also had a juggling act back then. I do a little bit of juggling in my show too. Just if we haven't added enough diversity yet to everything else.
I've never been able to juggle. I guess it's the sort of thing where you really just have to practice it, right?
It's just like music, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people will preemptively shut themselves off. Oh, I can't play guitar, I can't do this. Forgive yourself for not being perfect. Just put the time in and set realistic expectations for yourself, and you can pretty much do anything you set your mind to, really.
Yeah. So what do you got for us on banjo?
Yeah, on the banjo, I'm going to play, this is a song I do in the show. It's a good example of my new label, Multicultural Live Looping. So it's a song that I originally learned from the Chieftains and have worked on. It's an instrumental tune called, before I say it, let me say one more thing. It's named after an Irish king, Brian Boru, who I don't know all the details of it, but the basic line here is that he was a king of Ireland who united the warring clans of Ireland against the Norse Viking invaders. And so it's an instrumental called Brian Boru's March. Here we go. Right.
Yeah, I could hear the baroom, the drum that they have in the
Bodhran.
Bodhran.
You can imagine that in the background.
I could hear that in the background. It wasn't being in the background, but I could hear the drum beat there. That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's an interesting tuning. I think it's a G minor tuning. It's not the standard bluegrass guitar tuning and stuff. And
Brian Tomaszewski in the studio this morning. Again, you can find him at briantmusic.com, and you can also find him in person tomorrow night at the Little Theater in the Cafe at 7 o'clock. And not only do you play Irish ballads and Polish folk songs in the language, you also write songs.
I do, yes, absolutely. And that's, I do a lot of covers and stuff, but I mean, ultimately my goal with the music is to do all original music. I just love the expressiveness of singer-songwriters. I mentioned people like Christine Lavin. I want to give a shout out to Stan Rogers. I mean, he's been gone a long time, but he was he was long gone before I was of age, but I love his music, his songwriting power and all that. And, Gordon Lightfoot and all that. So those have all been big influences as well. And the next song I want to do, as much as I talk about all this travel around the world and singing in different languages and weird tunings, I love right where we live, right here in Rochester, New York. I'm fortunate enough, I have a waterfront property up in Hilton, Greece. So I live on Lake Ontario, and every day I wake up to this beautiful, inspiring freshwater ocean. And
they're making me jealous. Come on.
Well, when it floods, and there's a little heartburn that can come with it, but live every day like it's your last, as the old saying goes. And so I love the water and the inspiration it's given for music and sharing with people. And we've had so many great times up there. And so this is sort of my biggest hit. I don't have anything out yet. I'm working on that, but sort of my one original song that's gotten some good feedback. And it was inspired by living on Lake Ontario. We get amazing sunsets up there. And so I wanted to really capture the feeling of that. And the song doesn't necessarily have to just be about Lake Ontario. It's anywhere where there's water and a sunset and you're with somebody special. Mm-hmm. So this is my original song. It's called Sunset. Well, it's a sunset sky across the lake. Thinking about you just feels so great. A cold beer in my hand, not a worry on my mind. The waves keep coming with the rhythm of time. And the wind is blowing through the trees. A seagull is flying as she pleases. The vast horizon is open and wide. Your smile brings peace to my mind. Because the sun is slowly sinking down. All of my troubles, well, they just left town. Take my hand and don't be shy. Come share with me this sunset sky. Twilight, hey, why don't we make a fire tonight? I love the smell of the smoke in the air. The flames can burn away any of my cares. And maybe we can cook up something good to eat, or catch a good buzz before we go to sleep. And tomorrow, who knows, well, it just might rain. The sky might be nothing but gray. But I don't care, because we're here to stay. Tomorrow's just another day. So toss in another log and grab another beer, 'cause you and I are gonna stay right here. the sun is slowly sinking down. All of my troubles, well, they just left town. Take my hand and don't be shy. Come share with me this sunset sky. Because the sun is slowly sinking down. All of my troubles, well, they just left town. Take my hand and don't be shy. Come share with me this sunset sky.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Brian Tomaszewski here once again, playing tomorrow night at the Little Theater at the Cafe at 7 o'clock. A number of other shows, you can find it at his website, briantmusic.com. And congratulations on your Fulbright.
Thank you.
That's really wonderful. And enjoy your time in Poland when you go.
Yeah.
And have a great time tomorrow night playing.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Thanks for the support.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming in. It's been fun hanging out with you.
Yeah, for sure. Got here nice and early.
Thanks, yep.